Leeds United transfer news is in a very complex situation at the moment because as things keep on going, we keep being linked with more players, but we're approaching the limit of the number of players we can register in the squad, which obviously makes things a little bit difficult because you're going to have to let people go to get more people in. And it's starting to look like one of the people that could potentially be seeing the exit door is Largie Ramazani. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk through what the sort of development was this morning, what the story's been looking like recently outside of this morning, and ultimately why this decision is set to be made. But before I do, just pop a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't yet. Like 64% of you aren't subscribed, so just give that a go. Be lovely. Cheers. Anyway, into the main bulk of the video. First off, the little bit of news that we have learned is from Graham Smith of the Yorkshire Evening Post, who said that Largie Ramazani has not travelled with the squad today, which is not something that you sort of typically expect because Ramazani has played a pretty big role in recent months as part of the squad. He's typically been someone that you can bring off the bench to have a little bit of an impact and change a game, but currently not in the squad, and there is no idea if there is an injury at all. I feel like if there was, and it hadn't happened in the last 2 days, it would have been mentioned by Daniel Farke before now, but it is then mentioned by Graham Smith that of the wingers, he would be the likeliest to attract interest. He then says it'd be a shame if he went. He's a difference maker on the ball. We'll see what Daniel Farke says. So we're not really going to find anything out about that until, at the very least, the pre-match interviews, probably in all reality after the match, which is a little bit of a spooky spot to sit in because we don't know what's going on with the Largie thing. We might find out a little bit more beforehand, but we'll have to see. When it comes to sort of stories that have existed before today, to get an idea of where this might be sort of sat, there has been a little bit of conversation surrounding Largie Ramazani potentially being on the move. One of the bigger bits of story, for example, was the fact that he was linked a little bit to Rangers. Now, this is a move that I think would genuinely make sense for him. It's not just one of those sort of Leeds United are also owned by the people that own Rangers, therefore Leeds Rangers transfer works. No, it's a level that I think Largie would thrive at, whilst at the same time being an affordable player for Rangers to pick up. It's one of those where if the squads are getting a little bit too packed, then it kind of makes sense to do, whether that's on loan or as a transfer. I think for Leeds, it makes significantly more sense to do it as a loan, because going forward, it might be more doable to get some of the players that may be sort of dropping off the other end of the curve on a transfer away from the club. I'm specifically referring to Jack Harrison. He's still got 3 years left on his contract, but next year it'll be down to 2. Probably be looking at a move because I don't know if he gets another contract at Leeds United. The whole thing is very, very confusing. And also with the note of the wingers he'd be the likeliest to attract interest, it's a pretty fair point to note that the position where we have the most depth at the moment and that we can reasonably make some movement in at the moment is that left wing area. So look at the options. We've just signed Noah Okafor. Fair enough. Pretty damn good player, and obviously isn't going to be one of the players that shifts out. Got Willie Nonto that plays there. Plays there better than he plays on the right-hand side, to be fair to him. We've got Jack Harrison that can play there. There's your third option. And our fourth option is Largie Ramazani. Only one of these players can be on the pitch at any one time, unless you put Nonto on the right-hand side, but realistically, Nonto would be behind James on the right-hand side in the pecking order, because that James Bogle link-up play works really, really effectively. So you sort of land in a very difficult position for the club, where you've got too many players on the left wing. You know that Largie Ramazani's got a hell of a lot of potential to become a very, 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 very good player in the future. But he's just realistically going to sit on your bench because I don't think he's as good starting as Largie has been. And we've just signed Noah Okafor, who is likely to be starting over Willie Nonto. So it's an incredibly difficult position to be in. In terms of where we sit on this one, I feel like in that wing area, it makes sense to not have 4 players that you have to register all for one position when you can only register 25 in total. It makes sense that that is the spot where you go, okay, if we're getting more players in, you move on one of the left wingers and you pad out a position like either the right wing or you get someone who can play as a right wing and a 10 in. That was something that was specifically mentioned by Daniel Farke. Or you get that fullback sorted out, or just someone late in the window that gives you that little bit of ability and flexibility to make reasonable moves going forwards. It was that, or I think it was don't register Alex Cairns, but I don't know if there's a limit on the number of goalkeepers that you need to register. And I feel like if it came to having to play Rory Mahady in a match against like Man City, we'd be in trouble. Not because I don't rate Rory Mahady. Rory Mahady is an excellent footballer, but that would be an experience that is comfortably beyond him, I think, given the fact that he is a youth player at the moment. A lot of people won't necessarily like this. A lot of people will look at this and say, well, why Largie? Why not Jack Harrison as an example? Using the Jack Harrison example, because Jack Harrison's not been gaining that interest. Jack Harrison was at Everton last season and they didn't want to keep him. And his wages being 90 grand a week mean that he would have to take a vast pay cut to go to anywhere below an Everton, and anywhere above an Everton likely won't take him because they've seen that Everton have had him and gone, he's not brilliant, is he? Which puts us in a little bit of a difficult spot where you can't shift Jack Harrison on, so you've got to reintegrate him and see how that one goes. And then if you look at other positions and you think, well, who else can go? Well, is it Ilya Gruev? Well, no, because Ethan Ampadu just got a pretty damn bad injury, and we need someone to play in the 6. And Anton Stack is better as an 8. Therefore, you don't shift your best player out of their best position just for the sake of, well, this way we can sell Ilya Gruev and get someone else instead, and that might save Largie Ramazani. For me, I think the best possible direction for us to go here is Largie goes out for the season on loan, not as a permanent deal. That would, I think, be a mistake because I think he's got a massive amount of potential to him. And I think to sell him without something like a big sell-on clause or a buyback or something like that would be an error. But I think loan him out, watch him develop out at Rangers, and then welcome him back into the fold next year if we are able to shift someone else on at that point in time. Whether or not that's doable, I don't know. It'd be quite interesting to find out. But I think Largie Ramazani still does have a future at Leeds United. That future just might not be this season, which is a bit of a shame. I like the guy. I like seeing the guy on the pitch, and I would love to see him continue to be on the pitch as a Leeds United player. But whilst we are in need of depth and assistance in other positions, I think realistically he's the most expendable of those options, which is quite interesting. I'm going to see if there's any more updates on any of this. There is a little bit of an update where FPLG has done a waving emoji and then a Scottish flag, and FPLG tends to know his stuff. So that implies that the Rangers thing is likely to be coming, which I don't hate if it's a loan. If it's a permanent, I don't like it, but that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there because as I'm talking right now, I'm also technically working. And yeah, sorry about the lack of stream yesterday as well. That was because I was digging up an entire floor of the kitchen. Today I'm installing the kitchen outside of like 3 different work shifts. So it was a hell of a day. I don't know if I'll be able to get a stream done. I will see if I can. I hope so. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you later. Doodle.